Welcome, family. What's going on, Ma? Welcome you guys to a Monday edition of the Watch Party here on the Watch List, you guys. It's the best damn day of the week. I'm not sure if you guys have realized that yet, or if you also realize that I'm gonna jump in early now every once in a while. Should be pretty regular as long as technology doesn't keep holding me up. But to jump a little bit early, let folks know that we're getting things started. Maybe chat with you guys for a couple more seconds as people file in, because as I keep hearing, sometimes notifications don't really get to folks about even when we're starting this every day at noon, as we've been doing. What, man, what is this now? It's the middle of September, since the last week or so of June. Man, has it been that long? We're sporting over 2 months straight of the live stream as I jump in here and talk with you guys, because it's a lot more fun, a lot more natural, a lot more of a direct connection to everything that's happening. You guys get to hear my thoughts as they come to me, rather than, as I try to put them all together beforehand. So if you guys like what we're doing over here, like the stream here, it gets more boosts, more people will see it. Also share it as you see things going on. And when we cut these videos and put them up on the page later, find those as well. See if we can share those with folks as well. Make sure they see what we're doing. I feel like there's a lot of crossroads we're looking at here in this country. The same crossroads that I felt like we were looking at it for the past 8 to 10 years. There were different crossroads that 10 years before that. But what we haven't been really doing in this country is changing our behaviors and doing things differently. What we've got is a lot more desperation. We've got a lot more authoritarian rule. We've got people who continue to pursue the same thing that's gotten us in the positions that we've been in all the negative spots we've been in this country. That is biases, white supremacy, and people just feeling like they need to dominate over others. So now we've got battles over our reality and what we're seeing. Trust me, I'm not talking about the person that's no longer with us, that doesn't need any more discussion about. Every time I look up, I can't see anything without seeing some new discussion about him. I saw a great video though. I wish I remembered his name. Someone was passing this around to me. I saw it. A couple folks sent it to me over on Instagram of I can't remember his name, but it was the best, most clear breakdown of exactly what it is we're facing and why things like that are just like our new reality. It's what the folks that are in power want us to be talking about. And by the way, what that guy represented is exactly what it is they want to continue to pursue. This is a win for these folks. I'm gonna find that guy's video, and maybe I'll run at the beginning of the show tomorrow, just for the sake of giving you a full, complete perspective of what it is I feel like. And it's way more intelligent and full and complete of a thought of what I said as soon as Trump got back into office at the end of the year. People that show you who they are, people that have told you that they're no longer willing to pay attention to reality, people that accept the fascism that's right in front of their faces, accept that they're fascist, accept that that's who they are, because they're letting you know that. Have no more debates with them. It's not weak to no longer have debates with people who don't want to debate you in the first place. They want to waste your time and tell you that your reality is not reality. What we're seeing in front of our faces isn't real, because they're following behind someone whose main objective is to destroy us for their own sake, for their supremacy. It's what this country was built on. So he put it so much better than me, but I think we need to stop wasting our time and our energies and our stresses over people who've told us they want no part in America. I mean, what they said America was supposed to be. So my full thoughts there as we get started. We're at the top of the hour. Anybody who's not coming in, let's go ahead and get started with some of these stories, because this first one directly connects to what it is I was just talking about. When someone, even on television news, decides to tell you who they are, I think it's a really, really good idea to listen to them, because it's for our own benefit and it's for our own survival, because now they're talking about death.
Billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right. I would say this: we're not voting for the right people. In North Carolina, wake up.
Fox News. Brian Kilmeade, big-headed Brian Kilmeade sits on the end of that couch after piggybacking off Lawrence Jones's hateful language of you can't give them a choice. In the United States of America, you can't give them a choice because, the anti-choice party likes to talk about how all the people that they hate are limiting your rights and are taking your rights away, won't let you live in freedom, but you can't give them a choice, which of course leads to Brian Kilmeade talking about involuntary lethal injection for the homeless population. It's almost like they've been talking about this for a very long time. Do you guys remember Tucker Carlson's long and extensive breakdown and almost documentary style story on homelessness? I believe it's in San Francisco. It was multiple parts. It was in depth. It was talking about how filthy and disgusting these creatures are that are on your streets. We need to do something about it. That wasn't just last year, but that's how the narrative, that's how mindsets are changed in our society to lessen people's worth, to dehumanize them. And once you dehumanize people, you can literally watch them die on camera, as we've been watching overseas and in our and police body cam videos for years, and we dismiss it. So now Brian Kilmeade goes ahead and finishes the full thought, goes full on Nazi. And if you don't believe me, I'm gonna get to that in a second. But right after that, a couple of people were outraged, so he offered this up. See how slow everything is today?
In the morning, we were discussing the murder of Irina Zarutska in Charlotte, North Carolina, and how to stop these kinds of attacks by homeless, mentally ill assailants, including institutionalizing or jailing such people so they cannot attack again. Now, during that discussion, I wrongly said they should get lethal injections. I apologize for that extremely callous remark. I'm obviously aware that not all mentally ill homeless people act as the perpetrator did in North Carolina, and that so many homeless people deserve our empathy and compassion. Lawrence, back to you. In the morning, we were
Did that statement sound like an apology to you? Did that statement sound like he understood anything that he was doing? Did that statement, not apology, sound like anything like he understood the gravity of what it is he's talking about and how he became radicalized to these Nazi beliefs? How when they get so upset that people call them Nazis because they keep doing Nazi shit, that maybe they should stop doing the Nazi shit and they'll stop being called Nazis. It's weird how even though people called out this Nazi regime and the Nazi and fascists they were pursuing and blowing up in our country, how it now has gotten to Brian Kilmeade's brain, and then he goes and broadcasts how we should start euthanizing the homeless. Similar to how we now have RFK Jr. talking about how autism is a scourge on our country and we need to figure out what to do about it. Also, how they keep saying that trans folks are the ones that are killing everyone and we need to do something about them, limit their rights, take away things from them. And we're going to get to the point, as we've seen, as been said months and years ago, this fascism will always lead to them saying people in our society aren't worthy of living anymore. It's kind of how we got to the point where we've got people piled up in internment camps. Yes, we're there. We've been there. How we've got people dying in those places. How we've got people disappearing off the streets. But they keep telling you it's about protecting the homeland. Well, now that we've gotten to this fever pitch, what they're telling you is the kind of homeland that they're looking to protect does not involve the kinds of folks that they don't like, the kinds of folks that this president of the United States has always said are less redeemable, don't have the same type of mental acuity, have the wrong color skin, come from the wrong countries, their families don't have the right cultures. Isn't that weird how if you keep saying and pushing Nazi shit becomes the norm? Um, it doesn't take very much of a research to really see this stuff. I was since I've been in high school, it was in high school, I was big on looking up and studying and seeing documentaries on what led to specifically World War II, because people talk straight to the Nazis and the Hitler stuff and the concentration camps and the Holocaust, and many times we don't look at the buildup to those points. So I want to read these couple excerpts from Wolfgang Ayas's historical study on the Nazis. This particular aspect of it, this study was called "Vagrants and Beggars in Hitler's Reich." And I want you guys to keep in mind what Brian Kilmeade just said and how offended he'd be if you called him a Nazi. When they seized power, a massive round of homeless people was one of their first actions. In July 1933, they began a propaganda campaign against the nuisance of begging. The week of September 18th through 25th, 1933 was termed Beggars Week. During this week, large amounts of beggars and vagrants were taken into what was termed protective custody and were sometimes removed from shelters that they were residing in. So this particular person that was breaking down this 30-page study talked about some more emphasis on things that they want to see. Let me get to some more of the details that they were talking about. However, Beggars Week was deemed a failure, as the Nazis at the time did not have the infrastructure to deal with the mass amounts of people that they were detaining. Some were forced into workhouses, but they rapidly reached overcrowded status and could take no more homeless people. Because the majority of unhoused people were still right back where they started, cities began to work on expelling their homeless people, along with other groups of undesirables. Some were moved to other cities to be put to work. Others fell under the control of the homeless and vagrancy departments of cities or regions. They were registered and monitored throughout the Nazi regime, and they were divided into multiple subgroups of homeless people, depending on their perceived use. So as they made, being homeless a criminal act, which is exactly what this administration is doing. Look what they did in Washington, D.C. What was the first thing he pushed towards? We got to get these homeless people off the streets because it's making us look disgusting and filthy, and the rest of the world doesn't understand how great and glorious we are. Let's get them out of here. It's not the first time. We've been shoving homeless people off the streets and into different areas and taking away any kinds of social safety net features and programs that would keep more people off of the streets. Any kind of drug addiction type of programs, any counseling programs, those get defunded. It was one of the number one things that this administration was doing, and they understand that once that happens, you have an influx of folks that find themselves in these situations. Many veterans, as a matter of fact, who suffer from PTSD, who, after serving this country, find themselves on the streets, whose safety nets there have been taken away, their health care then taken away. And then they wonder why we have this issue that they then want to complain about and say, we need to do something about it. They won't listen to us. Their rights should be taken away. And eventually, as Brian Kilmeade said, maybe we should just kill them. Pause for a second. Brian Kilmeade's colleague over at Fox News, Jesse Waters, the evening of that guy being shot, decided to say that Matthew Dowd over at MSNBC should be fired for saying that that guy said some horrible things and he brought this atmosphere in our society. And now he's a victim of that same atmosphere. The gist of generally what Dowd said. Jesse Waters demanded that that man be fired. I think before the day was over, he was fired from MSNBC. I'm trying to figure out when this campaign for Brian Kilmeade, who pushed for the mass murder of anyone that's homeless, to be broadcast on Fox News's airwaves, at what point is his firing going to happen? Of this group of conservatives that wants nothing to do with cancel culture. Oh, my cancel culture is a scourge on our systems. Why can't you just have enough of a mindset to debate the topics rather than just get mad and want someone fired? I'll tell you why. Because when someone spreads that kind of hate, it permeates our society and people start doing more vigilante murders of people on the streets. It's nothing new. These mindsets have been there. Now it's becoming something that our administration is pushing, that people who carry water for our administration, the state TV for our administration is pushing. And all he's got is that empty apology that he really, really didn't mean. Back to you, Lawrence. That's not an apology. Matter of fact, here's another content creator. She describes herself as a mis and disinformation researcher. Abby Richards. She broke down even further this connection between their Nazi thought process and their approach to homeless folks. I love the way she put it.
Trump is deploying the National Guard to D.C., and he's doing it by using a classic fascist talking point.
We're going to be removing homeless encampments from all over our parks. They're very dirty.
Welcome back to Fascist Propaganda 101. Today we're talking about how fascists weaponize homelessness. If you hate yourself enough to watch Fox News, you would know that they hate homeless people over there. They say homeless people choose to be homeless.
The people who are homeless prefer to stay homeless.
That's
no
right.
matter how you help them.
They're reckless.
There's a good chance the homeless started this fire.
They're filthy.
This is an ungoverned, filthy, and violent underworld.
They're hopeless.
These are people that have failed in life and they're on their deathbed.
Demonizing homeless people is essentially part of the fascist propaganda playbook. When the Nazis came to power in 1933, the Ministry of Propaganda began pushing for a nationwide swoop on beggars, and they issued these guidelines for the press. Beggars often forced their poverty upon people in the most repulsive way for their own selfish purposes. If this sight disappears, the result will be a definite feeling of relief and liberation. People will feel that things are becoming more stable again and that the economy is improving once more. Nazis would go on to classify beggars, drug addicts, alcoholics, and disabled people as asocials or work shy, basically anyone who didn't conform to their social norms. Homelessness is an ever-present sign of the failures of our economic system. It's a reminder that you can't punish people out of poverty and that we're all just a few strokes of bad luck away from losing everything that we have. But fascists know that homelessness makes us uncomfortable, so they capitalize on that discomfort by promising to get rid of it.
We also want to make DC safe and beautiful, and that involves removing mentally disturbed individuals and homeless encampments as well.
But you can't brute force your way out of homelessness. Sending the National Guard to DC isn't about fixing homelessness. It's about making it look like they fixed homelessness. And it's one of the oldest tricks in the fascist playbook. As the Nazis literally wrote, a successful action against the nuisance of begging can have important propaganda benefits.
It's almost like this group of people that like to talk about how debate and discussions with people that you disagree with are exactly what they want and what happened to that in this country. How about this direct connection? Somebody tell me how literally carrying out Nazi propaganda and Nazi agendas towards homeless people, to mental health folks that are suffering from mental health crises, to folks with autism, how that doesn't connect directly to what it is that these guys are doing. They just move on and say, how dare you challenge me on that? Because they feel like there's this superiority that they've got over our reality. And once you corner them on their hypocrisy, it turns into violence. Adam Kinzinger is a former Republican congressman who was booted out of the party and chose to leave himself because he had the nerve to say that Donald Trump is unqualified to be president and that he's a fascist. He responded to what it was that was going on with Brian Kilmeade as well too. I'm just gonna play some of this.
So I'm struggling right now. As bad as Fox News is, this is like a new low for them even. So Brian Kilmeade today, or yesterday, was on TV. And basically, they were talking about people that need help, homeless people. And one of the gentlemen said, you either accept the help the government's giving you or you're going to be locked up in jail. That's it. And then Kilmeade says, yeah, or involuntary lethal injection. Just kill him. Brian Kilmeade on Fox News to millions of people suggested euthanizing, murdering people less fortunate than him. People with mental health illnesses, maybe veterans, maybe not, but it doesn't even matter. Human lives. Like, what has happened in this country between the murder of Charlie Kirk and now a Fox News host calling for euthanizing, killing, murdering the down and out? Like, I just got to say this to Christians out there. If you cheer on what Brian Kilmeade says, I've got to tell you, those are the exact people that he's suggesting killing. Those are the exact people that if Jesus was walking earth today, that he would be hanging out with. Those would be the people that he would have in his company. Jesus wouldn't be going to Fox News and hanging out with all the makeup people with Mar-a-Lago face. He'd be hanging out with the exact people that are being deported, that are in situations much less fortunate than him. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. And if Fox News doesn't fire him, and they won't, they have no right ever to complain again about what anybody says.
It's been a very long time since they've had the right to complain about what anyone else has said. I want to also point out that Brian Kilmeade, if people are wondering about his influence and whether or not what he says really permeates to the minds of so many people, Donald Trump regularly promotes the fact that Fox and Friends, his show, is one of his favorites, wakes up in the morning and watches it. He just appeared on it last week. He's on it all the time. He comes into New York and sits on the couch in between the three of them to chat it up and ramble and just toss out whatever kind of propaganda he needs while they go and nod their heads and continue to agree with everything that he says. He legitimizes them to the point where they have presidential connections. So anything he says gets endorsed from Donald Trump. Donald Trump is like, I'm never going on that show again. We're talking about euthanizing the homeless? No, man. He endorses that stuff. Brian Kilmeade got his ideas from Donald Trump because Brian Kilmeade takes everything he says and then repeats it right back out. That's what they do. That's why they get paid so much. That's their job. It's almost like, Nazis. There's another Nazi that I think many of us have forgotten about. In fact, the day that Donald Trump was inaugurated, this Nazi showed up at Donald Trump's inauguration, stood in front of a podium and tossed out that Heil Hitler salute because, he's a Nazi. And everyone decided to, again, debate about what we no longer need to debate. He told you who he is. We've seen his history. We've seen his family history. But this guy who came in and invaded our entire government system, raided it, took our information, has it in his pocket somewhere, is now trying to incite more violence. And you won't be surprised the kind of violence that he wants to incite. This is him speaking to this Unite the Kingdom rally in the UK. See what Elon Musk has to say.
Violence is going to come to you. You will have no choice. You're in a fundamental situation here where whether you choose violence or not, violence is coming to you. You either fight back or you die. You either fight back or you die. And that's the truth.
Today, Elon, I think the British public are telling the world that they're ready to fight back.
Good. Yes.
Come on, Great Britain.
Violence is.
Elon Musk, again, legitimized. First off, he legitimized Donald Trump, and Donald Trump legitimized him as they raided our country, and now is speaking overseas from his cozy abode somewhere high up, somewhere where no one can touch him, telling folks in the streets, all of these racists, they need to fight back because violence is coming for them. Sounds very familiar to things that we were hearing when violence wasn't coming to the people who were talking about race wars last week. Until they found out that the race war is going to be within their own race. But they'll still pitch these. He's pitching these civil wars amongst multiple countries because, he's a Nazi who, for some reason, too many of us were like, well, I mean, it was kind of like a Nazi salute. I mean, it wasn't like he was really threw his whole heart and soul into that. It's not like everything that he's said. It's not like he's done divisive things. It's not like he's run factories that are in direct discriminatory types of procedures against certain people based off their race. It's not like any of that has ever happened, or it's maybe not like it also happens not only in Britain, but also right in Huntington Beach, California.
Fight back! White man, 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 fight back!
Stop having discussions with people that are talking about where the bullets are coming from. Stop having discussions with people that say, well, I mean, it's both sidesing it. Stop having conversations with people that tell you when you identify someone as a Nazi that you're inciting violence. Stop doing it because we see the objective. whether the truth is in their face or not, whether they've had a chance to see what the reality is. The bottom line is they want to fight. And if nobody's there to fight them, they're going to go and attack you. It wasn't just when Donald Trump came into office this time that I've been talking about the disproportionate kinds of right-wing, white supremacist, homegrown domestic terror violence that has been upon our country. I cited that years ago. I cited that during Trump's first term when he denied it, when he suppressed those numbers, when he said those are fake news. And the reason that you bring those things up, because if you want to keep downplaying people's astute judgments and observations to what we're seeing as to just being name calling, you allow this to foment, and look what it's turned into. Publicly, these people always had this mindset. Don't get me wrong. They were always there. And many of us knew they were always there. The difference now is they have this confidence to be like, my president said, we get to go back to being this white supremacist, openly white supremacist country. And bro, we're here. America is so back. You know what that means? Every time they've said that, have you seen them highlight the accomplishments of Latino folks and Black folks and women? Have you seen any of that when those folks say America's so back? Or is it talking about cisgendered, straight, white male Christians? Last thing. I opted to not talk about one murder last week and decided to talk about another shooting that happened in Colorado. As we've still all been, distracted from the constant discussions, which, by the way, I've seen and watched a lot of discussions about who's really at fault and, oh my God, was this guy great? Was he a family guy? When everyone knows who he was, and we ignored this other story of this other shooter, in case you guys hadn't heard.
The Anti-Defamation League, in its Center on Extremism, has uncovered that the 16-year-old shooter spent substantial time online at sites featuring extremist ideologies and violent, gory content. And they believe he adopted extremist views himself. A handgun and bullets. This was an image, says the ADL, posted on an X or Twitter account belonging to the Evergreen High School shooter the morning of the attack. The ADL's research of his accounts show Desmond Holley developed a deep fascination with mass shooters, expressed neo-Nazi views, and frequented a site featuring violent, gory images.
It's almost like we should pay attention to the folks who keep killing people. So again, that was the 16-year-old shooter from that high school in Colorado that happened on the same day that people were chanting Civil War and were coming for the Black folks. The reasons that HBCUs had to shut down for the rest of the week under threat of violence, as people who are homegrown terrorists like that continue to pop up. As we keep talking about how the bullets are coming from both directions, stop having those arguments with those people. What they're telling you is they want you dead, and they don't care that they're jazzed by this new possibility. This is what they wanted. They're happy that it happened. Look at how quickly Donald Trump was at Yankees games dancing. Look, when they asked him questions about how sad he is, he went, well, we have a great rose garden that's being built. It's going to be wonderful. The ballroom is well on its way. Just listen to them. They'll tell you they're not that smart. Remember? And by the way, the purpose for saying all this stuff is so that it won't progress, but we've gotten it because we decided to ignore it for so long and give them so much of the benefit of the doubt. It's time to stop doing it. I mean, it passed. Let's go on to something else, you guys. In case you guys are wondering about some of those promises that Donald Trump had as far as, ending all those wars, like the other 10 to 15 to 25 that he's said he's ended. See what he has to say about what's going on with Russia and sanctions as they continue to violate any kind of potential for peace talks. This is what Trump has to say.
Do you expect NATO to issue sanctions against Russia Well, they're not doing the job. NATO has to get together. Europe has to get together and do it. Look, Europe they're my friends, but they're buying oil from Russia. So we can't be expected to be the only ones that are, full bore. But Europe is buying oil from Russia. I don't want them to buy oil. And the sanctions that they're putting on are not tough enough. And I'm willing to do sanctions, but they're going to have to toughen up their sanctions commensurate with what I'm doing.
Just to clarify, you wouldn't move ahead until NATO moves ahead.
Well, I'm ready to move ahead, but they have to do it. I think they will. But right now they're talking and they're not doing it. Look, they're buying oil from Russia. We're not buying oil from Russia. They're buying a lot of oil from Russia. That's not the deal. So,
Donald Trump's ball keeps moving on this whole discussion about whether or not he's going to end this war in 24 hours between Ukraine and Russia. When Russia invaded Ukraine, that he still won't admit to happening because, he does everything that Vladimir Putin wants him to do. But now it's about those sanctions. He's been upset multiple times. I can't believe Vladimir Putin would do this. Can you believe this? Vladimir Putin keeps on doing what I tell him not to do. My patience is running out. These have been multiple times. He had a meeting at a summit with him. It was great. It was wonderful. He's my best friend. And now he mentioned how he's going to finally put some sanctions on Russia as maybe just a starting point for something because they continue to do whatever the hell they want. And every time Donald Trump says, I'm going to talk to him and stop it, they go, why would I talk to you? I'm going to give you details of how this, how he's moved. He's moved the goalposts again on this. Don't forget, he was about to put sanctions on Russia. He threatened it about 5 or 6 times. This is where he now stands. This is in his Truth Social post. A letter sent by President Donald J. Trump to all NATO nations and the world. I'm ready to do major sanctions on Russia when all NATO nations have agreed and started to do the same thing. And when all NATO nations stop buying oil from Russia, that's kind of what he was talking about in that clip. As you know, he says, NATO's commitment to win has been far less than 100%, and the purchase of Russian oil by some has been shocking. It greatly weakens your negotiating position and bargaining power over Russia. I thought he was being the negotiator and bargaining with Russia. Now it's them. Continuing. Anyway, I'm ready to go when you are. Just say when. I believe that this, plus NATO as a group, placing 50% to 100% tariffs on China to be fully withdrawn after the war with Russia and Ukraine is ended, will also be of great help in ending this deadly but ridiculous war. China has a strong control and even grip over Russia, and these powerful tariffs will break that grip. This is not Trump's war. It would never have started if I was president. It's Biden and Zelensky's war. I'm only here to stop it and save thousands of Russian and Ukrainian lives. 7,118 lives lost last week alone. Crazy. If NATO does as I say, the war will end quickly and all those lives will be saved. If not, you are just wasting my time and the time, energy, and money of the United States. Are you fucking kidding me? So this guy who says he's leading the charge and the peacemaker across the world, he's saying now until you guys do what I say, the rest, all of Europe and NATO placing 50 to 100% tariffs on China, which is screwing this country over. Until you guys do that and stop buying Russian oil of the 2 or 3 countries that still do, then finally I'll start doing something. Bro, it's September. I heard 24 hours starts around in January after you were inaugurated because you're good friends with Vladimir Putin. I heard the war was going to end when he had that summit in Alaska. I heard that war was going to end when he sent his envoys to go and speak to these guys constantly over and over again about how they should end this war. I thought he was going to end the war. I'm sorry, MAGA thought he was going to end the war. That is until he found a new reason not to. It's almost like the writing was on the wall. He's been talking soft and being cowardly about this for a while. Here's some of the things he said before.
What's your reaction to Russian drone incursion into Poland? Could have been a mistake. Could have been a mistake, but
President Putin, because we just saw these drones in Poland.
Yeah, well,
More
the Poland
sanctions.
thing, I mean, I'm not going to defend anybody, but the Poland's, they were actually knocked down and they fell into an area. But he shouldn't be close to Poland anyway.
Right.
Maybe it was a mistake. Who cares about those drones flying over Polish airspace? Who cares? It's not like the folks who were there. It's not like the leaders of these countries said, "Yo, this is the highest escalation of any kind of conflict since world wars." It's weird that he doesn't give a damn. It's actually not weird. It's pretty clear because here he is after his long weekend of health issues that he kept hidden when he stepped back in front of cameras and was talking about it as well.
Sir, China's having a massive military parade that President Putin and Kim Jong-un will be attending. Do you interpret that as a challenge to this? And are you concerned at all about those countries?
No.
Some sort of counterweight?
Not at all. China needs us, and I have a very good relationship with President Xi, as you know, but China needs us much more than we need them. No, I don't see that at all, no.
One more.
And I had actually a very good meeting with President Putin a couple of weeks ago. We'll see if anything comes out of it. If it doesn't, we'll take a different stance.
That was a couple weeks ago. That new stance is now blaming NATO countries and saying, until you guys do a tariff policy that I've been doing to screw over the United States of American citizens, until you do that, I'm not going to do anything. Remember, they also said at one point, he said it, Marco Rubio said it, this was earlier on, this is months ago. They said, man, if these two can't get together, Zelensky and Putin, get together and finally talk these things through and take part in this ceasefire that Vladimir Putin continued to violate, until that happens, you know, we may just brush our hands of the situation and walk away. There's been so many different iterations of their finality and their conclusions to this whole thing. There's been so many of them because he doesn't know what he's doing until Vladimir Putin tells him what he's doing. But now people are finally, there's a couple people finally beginning to say, you know what? I feel like Donald Trump is getting, like, you know, yanked around here, you know, and maybe they just got, you know, Trump derangement syndrome.
I think it's high time that President Trump should see that Putin is mocking him. Instead of a ceasefire that was supposed to happen before the Alaska summit and serious peace talks, Putin is sending more and more drones, first at Ukraine and now at NATO. So I hope that at the end of this process, we have a series of coordinated moves to make President Putin realize that this exotic project of rebuilding the Russian Empire will not stand. I think
that's the Polish foreign minister talking about Trump being snatched around because he's Putin's puppet. I mean, that was said well before, because this is now escalating. You guys want to know how badly this is escalating? Because again, those drones that were shot down over Polish territory, you know, Donald Trump also brushed those aside and said, I mean, whatever, not such a big deal. There's this one problem. Poland and about 40 of its allies on Friday denounced the intrusion of Russian drones into its airspace last week, calling on Moscow to avoid more provocations. Before an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council request by Poland, Deputy Foreign Minister Marcin Bosacki told reporters that Warsaw and its allies wanted to draw the attention of the international community to yet another flagrant violation of international law and the Charter of the United Nations committed by the Russian Federation, which had brought the entire region closer to conflict than any time in recent years. I just want to point out, every time he's talked about how he's ending wars, his approach to these things escalates them. So as he keeps telling folks that are actually the victims of many of these that it's their fault, as he refuses to do anything outside of saying, Vladimir, I thought we were friends, things actually get worse. Let me tell you how much worse those things are getting. France, Germany, and Denmark will contribute fighter jets and other military assets to an enhanced defense of Poland against future Russian drone incursions. NATO leaders announced that at a press conference on Friday. The UK is also expected to contribute to the Eastern Sentry mission, which will gradually be expanded from the Arctic in the north to the Black Sea and Mediterranean in the south to better tackle Russian drones and missiles. It's weird. It's like multiple countries, in Europe, and then Russia, and then a bunch of other countries are all like ginning up this whole conflict. Almost like it could be seen as a war. Across multiple countries. Generally, we call those world wars. The guy who was run for president and said, as long as I'm sitting in the White House, there will be no World War III. Let me give you guys the most stark clip description here. What is it's happening? The latest blow to faltering diplomacy came as Russia's army staged major military drills with its key ally, Belarus. The military drills start on Friday and include exercises close to the border with Poland and Lithuania and in the Baltic and Barents Seas. Russia's defense ministry posted a video showing heavy military equipment, including armored vehicles, helicopters, and Navy ships taking part in the drills. Here's the craziest part. Poland said it would now station 40,000 troops near the Belarus border for the duration of those drills. I'm just saying, when you've got armies lining up on borders and military exercises being taking place for folks to observe and watch and monitor, while at the same time multiple other countries that aren't on that border are facilitating and contributing airplanes and supplies and things that you fight wars in, just in case something pops off. I feel like if we have any kind of education towards our history, we'd realize that those types of heightened tensions can lead to a war if one bad thing happens. But this is what Pete Hegseth, formerly of Fox News, a Fox and Friend weekend host, who's now the Secretary of Defense. The Secretary of War. This is his idea about, foreign diplomacy.
Power. We've projected power for a long time in far-flung places that had a nebulous connection to our own security in the homeland. We're securing the homeland.
We don't deal with those far-flung places that have nothing to do with American security. Somebody tell me when we're gonna stop sending all of our money to those far-flung places, like to Israeli armies supplies, so they can continue this genocide of Palestinians. Somebody tell Pete Hegseth that maybe we shouldn't be wasting all of our money on destroying entire country of people. And as his president is saying, wants to make it some beachfront property. But you know what they're sending our resources towards also, that we're paying for? To American cities, to Los Angeles, to Washington, D.C. He's talking about New Orleans, Nashville, I think. No, I'm sorry. Maybe it's Memphis. What he's doing is attacking the United States of America. They're no longer going to go off in these far-flung places because Vladimir Putin said, no, stop it. Don't even bring it up. Matter of fact, Donald Trump, I like that suit you're wearing. Good guy. So don't listen to these Republicans who've gotten themselves in this position that are now trying to finally figure it out.
Russia's playing us like a piano right now. He's gotten everything he wants. He's gotten access to the president with a red carpet reception.
I think it is time to move on Russia's sanctions. President Trump wants to make sure that he is giving every opportunity for peace to get this war resolved, but Putin is playing him right now. And I think the president understands that.
He's been weak on Russia. I think he's been great on Iran, but he has been terrible on Russia. He is unable to call Putin out as the invader and have a more moral clarity about who's at fault in this war.
Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird that was being said before this guy even got into office? But for some reason, they were all about his ass. Now suddenly he's being played right now. Even what's her name? Joni Ernst. I think he understands that now. What the fuck makes you think he understands that now if he's still being played? Why do they continue to kiss his ass? They have to. There's a little bit there. Like, oh man, he's gotten access to the president. I think it was Tom Tillis. He's gotten access to the president. Who gave him access to the president? Somebody else? The very little small bits of criticism come with this lack of connection to who it is that's making those criticisms happen. I mean, Donald Trump must understand that now. I mean, at some point, I think Donald Trump is unable to call Putin out, or is he unwilling to call Putin out, or is he unwilling to do anything actionable? Because he'll post about it every once in a while. He'll definitely tell everybody about how good of friends he is with him and how that's going to solve everything. Here's the last little bit on this. Here's the last clip. I want to show you guys who the guy is that they keep on saying just doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, he's doing it, but someone's doing it to him. I'm sorry, he's getting bad advice. This is what he cares about.
I thought you'd all like to see it. That's a man named Vladimir Putin, who I believe will be coming, depending on what happens. He may be coming and he may not, depending on what happens. We have a lot of things happening over the next couple of weeks. But I thought it was a nice picture of him. Okay of me, but nice of him. So that was very nice that it was sent to me. Okay?
Mr. President, on
yes.
that subject, have you talked to Vladimir Putin about the fact that yesterday a big U.S. factory was hit in a Russian airstrike in Ukraine? What's your reaction to
I
that?
told him I'm not happy about it. And I'm not happy about anything having to do with that war. I said I settled 7 wars, and actually, if you think about pre-wars, add 3 more, so it would be 10. I thought this would be in the middle of the pack in terms of difficulty. No, I'm not happy about anything about that war. Nothing. Not happy at all. We'll see what happens. I thought you'd all.
We'll see what happens. That's what he's got. I got a few minutes left before we jump over on TDR. I want to show you guys what else it is that they're actually doing with our military, separate from nothing, as far as any of these other kinds of, or even kind of actions towards halting some of these things that are going on. This is what Donald Trump is up to. And this is what also Fox News is celebrating, these attacks on these random Venezuelan boats in the middle of the ocean, you know, because that's what America wants. He was asked about it.
Are you going with us? Huh? Are you going with us, Maggie?
Not with you.
Good.
Just one more on Venezuela. The president of Venezuela called the strike on the boat illegal. Are you concerned that Maduro might escalate something?
You know, what's illegal are the drugs that were on the boat and the drugs that are being sent into our country, and the fact that 300 million people died last year from drugs. That's what's illegal.
Do you think he's not telling the truth when he's...
Are you going with us? Huh? Are you going with us?
I mean, the illegal attack on random boats in Venezuelan waters is what he's actually concerned about. Because you know why? I'm not sure if you guys heard it. 300 million Americans died of drugs last year. 300 million. I want to say it one more time. 300 million Americans. That's odd because, you know, just to be sure. I looked it up, and the United States population is 347 million, just over 347 million. I even went back to last year when he said 300 million Americans died. It was 345 million as our population. So I'm not sure if you guys realize this. We were down to 45 million people in this country, and that is until I guess he came back into office, and there was this boom of 300 million more people that suddenly were born. Man, there's a lot of New Year's babies, a whole bunch of them. What a fucking idiot. And I'm sorry, we're the fucking idiots because we keep listening to him make up numbers that somehow he thinks will justify every action that he takes. Because, you know, for the people who don't listen to those made up numbers that he's got on the economy, from foreign policy to his tariff numbers, all the things that he keeps making up that we're supposed to believe. For the rest of the people, they're supposed to listen to Jesse Waters celebrate it.
Take another Coke boat.
That was Operation Pacific Viper. The Coast Guard arrested 7 smugglers, seized 13,000 pounds of coke, then sunk their boat. This comes after Secretary of War flew to the Caribbean and told troops, if you see narcos, you know what to do.
What you're doing right now, it's not training. This is the real world exercise on behalf of the vital national interests of the United States of America to end the poisoning of the American people.
It's the constant scare tactics. They know that they've got a bunch of cowards running around in this country like, oh my, as long as we just kill someone, as long as we show videos of things blowing up, then we'll just be like, oh, we're so much better. Let's not look inward and see why so many people are addicted to drugs in this country. Let's not look inward and see the dire positions that our government and our leaders have put so many people into. Let's not talk about the influx and the flood of drugs into our country because they look to dismantle so many other communities that were getting themselves out of the positions that our white supremacist country has gotten us into. Let's not talk about any of those things. Let's keep listening to Fox News personalities laugh and celebrate and make really bad jokes about how fun this is.
This is what you call a message. It's well publicized. It's very clear. There's a certain outcome. If you're a smuggler, you're starting to rethink that decision to avoid career day at high school. Maybe selling trinkets on the beach aren't a bad idea. Maybe I should call my uncle and see if there's still an opening at the bodega. Who knows? What a change from the past. We are no longer, as a country, embracing decline. In one video, you just saw the solution for drugs, gangs, and late night boating. Trump just said to America, I hear you, watch this. The sharks are happy. They just got a big free meal. But this is where the left's hierarchy of problems come into play. They see your problems, which is like crime, terror, drugs, as inferior to the other problems that the media also portrays, which is the rights of outsiders and the authoritarian fantasy that they keep placing on Trump. Those are the bigger problems. Your problems don't matter. Of course, that's why we spent a month talking about the Maryland dad. It's like, here was a guy that abused his wife, that was a human trafficker, but those were your problems. Our problem is that, he's not getting his due process. I prefer that due process right there. What were the 3 big issues that the Democrats really failed America on? Crime, the border, trans. In each case, it wasn't about the criminal, the illegal, or the man in a dress. It was the Dems and the media telling you that their problems mattered more than yours, meaning you've been mugged, that matters less than the mugger not making bail. So your daughter has to undress in front of a guy in a locker room. That matters less than that man self-identifying his gender and having his rights preserved. That's where the Democrats went wrong. And this is a remedy. When you look at this is the remedy, and the path forward is understanding what the problems are for the American people.
I feel like the problem of your daughter's undressing in front of a man in a dressing room would have been resolved if they would have kept Donald Trump's ass out of the Miss USA pageant dressing room where he bragged about going and looking at them undressing. It's almost like they're absolute liars. It's almost like he thinks it's fun to talk about how they're killing people, and that's the end of the drug wars. It's over. Nothing else will ever happen anymore. People are suddenly not addicted to drugs because we blew up some people who actually, I think you guys saw this coming, weren't drug smugglers. None of the 11 people killed in the U.S. military strike on a boat in the Caribbean last week were members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, Venezuela's interior minister has said, while U.S. media reported the attack came after the vessel had turned around and was heading back to shore. The administration of Donald Trump has said the boat was transporting illegal narcotics, but has provided little further information about the incident, even amid demands from members of the U.S. Congress for a justification of the action. They openly confessed to killing 11 people, is what Venezuela's interior minister and ruling party had said on TV. We have done our investigations here in our country, and there are the families of the disappeared people who want their relatives. And when asked in the towns, none were from Tren de Aragua. None were drug traffickers. But why believe that guy? He's the leader in Venezuela, and we don't have to believe the things that they say. Let's believe, our own folks that, as you saw, won't tell you anything. A murder has been committed against a group of citizens using lethal force at Cabello, questioning how the U.S. could determine whether drugs were on the boat and why the people were not instead arrested. How did they identify them as members of Tren de Aragua? Did they have, I don't know, a chip? Did they have a QR code and the U.S. military read it from above in the dark is also what Cabello added? There was no answer. Donald Trump and them said, hey, aren't you afraid? Hey, let's bring up trans folks. Hey, let's say those brown folks are coming to kill you. Hey, let's say you who's on drugs right now, you're better than the other person that you're claiming is on drugs and is a filthy member of society as you go and find your drug dealer. They give them reasons to hate more folks. You know what else they've been doing? That was the group of 11 people that they murdered and gave no reasons for, but except America. Also, Venezuela says U.S. Navy raided a tuna boat in the Caribbean as tensions rise there too. It's almost like, he's escalating more and more international conflicts. Let me give you details of what they did here. This is a separate incident because, we keep on attacking folks because, this is the United States of America. Tensions between the two nations escalated after Donald Trump in August ordered the deployment of warships in the Caribbean off the coast of the South American country, citing the fight against Latin American drug cartels. Because, he gets to do that type of stuff. Here's more details of this tuna boat. While reading a statement on Saturday, Foreign Minister Ivan Gil told journalists that Venezuelan tuna boat was illegally and hostilely boarded by a United States Navy destroyer and 18 armed personnel who remained on the vessel for 8 hours, preventing communication and the fishermen's normal activities. They were then released under escort by the Venezuelan Navy. The fishing boat had authorization from the Ministry of Fisheries to carry out its work, is what he said at this press conference, during which he presented photos of the incident. There was also videos of it where one of the folks on this boat was talking about how, they were aggressively detained and held up by American warships because we should be fighting wars there, right? Last part. Those who give the order to carry out such provocations are seeking an incident that would justify a military escalation in the Caribbean, is also what Gil said, adding that the objective is to persist in their failed policy of regime change in Venezuela. Gil said the incident was illegal and illegitimate and warned that Venezuela will defend its sovereignty against any provocation. But it's all fine as long as we just have Jesse Waters and Greg Gutfeld say, got him, got him. See those scary brown people? Aren't you scared yet? Are you guys scared yet? Let me tell you another scary bedtime story so that you'll be afraid tomorrow. And then I'll say, America, do you see those bullets and those guns? Eventually, they're going to be turned on you. I got to go. Moral of the story. Stop arguing with fascists about whether or not they're fascists. Stop arguing with Nazis about whether or not they're Nazis. They chant it. So what's the discussion about? Get back to realizing what it is that they're doing to you in your life as they have you argue with them about whether or not they're Nazis. Because they're keep doing Nazi shit. I'm going to see you guys in 5 minutes over on TDR. We'll be talking for another hour and a half. We'll see what John has in store. I haven't found out yet. Let's see. But I'll talk to you guys soon. Appreciate you. If you guys like what we're doing, of course, share the stream, like it, and also subscribe if you haven't yet. All these will be up later up on the channel. You'll see them there too. Try to do some of those same things there too. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys.